host of new kids tried and then bolted in mid-season to rise to near glory?
Josh says, now hopefully out of the rebuild phase since the departure of the golden generation with a good mix of young and experience in the side, and the incoming signings bolstered the pack as well as Long now fully integrated into the coaching team. Sean Long. I'm hoping for an impressive season showing an exciting style of play with potential to push for the big dance. Challenge Cup flop out.
Nick Chidlow says, sadly, I'm feeling very confident about Leeds' chances this season, which, given my ability to predict a winner, may be akin to a curse. If we can keep the majority of our players fit, I think we can win more than we lose and get in the top 5. See, that's how it works. Win more than you lose, top 5.
Yeah.
I think we're a year away from challenging the top 2, but another run in the Cup and more game time for the youth can only get us closer to the good old days.
And Rich Wilkinson says Leeds will be at the right end of the table, building nicely. A good cup run is our best chance of honours, however, not quite good enough to win the grand final.
You know, I like what Nick was saying there about that kind of switch around that we already talked about with the Warrington fans. And I like when people think things can be influenced by things that clearly are not going to have any influence on the outcome. It reminds me of a conversation I was having with a friend today at work who, when he buys 2 lottery tickets, will always buy them from 2 different shops because he thinks that increases his chance of winning.
Isn't there some decision maths in something that probably proves that might be right?
Well, how can it be? You've got the same odds.
It's the same way. It's the same way you should always, if you've got you get the chance to gamble, you should always do it. Like if you get the chance to swap the box, you should always do it because there's some sort of weird decision maths that proves that actually you probably should.
But
I don't understand it. But
well, do you know what? Someone's going to make me look a fool then, and make the person who I called a fool look a genius. Tim,
yeah, so I was just going to say it's about as logical as having a pair of lucky pants, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't really matter.
What's wrong with lucky pants? What's wrong with lucky pants? Lucky pants are important.
Until you lose when you're wearing
works.
them, and then they're not so lucky anymore. It's all right. I've got a different pair of Wigan boxers for every day of the week now. I spent the money that I would have spent on going to away games on buying Wigan boxer shorts, I think, last year. Right, Tim, let's talk about the Leeds Rhinos. It's only fair that we do. I'm a little bit worried about their injuries heading into the start of the season. Obviously, we know that the young fullback, Jack Walker, will be out long term. Rob Louis is going to miss some time to start the year. Ash Hanley's picked up a knock. We know he's going to be out for a bit of time. Are Leeds at the stage yet where they can swallow a lot of injuries? And is it all going to depend on if Luke Gale is actually fit or not?
I think it will. It will be largely on Gale's shoulders. I think they've got a bit of a leadership gap there in terms of having lost Cuthbertson and, although he didn't feature much last season, Stevie Ward as well. Was nominally their captain. Yeah, they've got a little bit of a gap there. I think a lot of it's going to be resting on just how good Zane Tetovano and King Vanawaya come in and do, and they're going to need to adjust quickly. I think Kyle Eastman's a shrewd signing because I think he does give them something. How good he is in how the fact he's been out of the sport for 10 years is another question. I've not seen that much of him from a rugby union point of view, so I don't know.
He's not played much rugby union for 2 or 3 years either, has he?
This is the Warrington signing, this, isn't it, surely? I mean,
obviously, does it still sting that he left Saints in the way that he did as a young next up and coming star, and or are you over that?
He will never be forgiven. To be clear, now, I watched an interview with him tonight on a podcast. I think he came across quite well. He was very young when he left Saints. I don't think he handled the whole "I'm going to rugby union" thing very well. and Saints fans didn't handle it well either. I include myself in that. I just thought it was a huge loss. I'm sure it was a huge loss to Saints, and I thought it was a huge loss to Rugby League. I don't think he ever really did hit it off in the way in which he thought he was going to in Rugby Union. Clearly, he'll have done okay out of it financially, but he understands the game really well. But I mean, and he won't have lost, I'm sure, his balance and his footwork, which was really good. But he doesn't look like he's got the pace that he used to have, and that was half of his. That gave him half of his attraction in the league. He was just that step ahead, and he can't have that anymore.
I think the two things with Eastman were speed, but it was speed of instincts for me with Eastman. Yeah. Like he so instinctively knew where to go or where to be, and he had the speed to get there when he needed to as well. Yeah. And 10 years out of the game, where he still has that same instinct and speed of instinct, as well as speed of foot, I'm not sure. Alan, what do you think of Leeds this year?
They don't strike me as having lost anyone particularly significant. They've lost players who are fringe players or getting older players or injured players, unfortunately, in the case of Stevie Ward. So to me, I think they'll be there or thereabouts for me, I would say. I think most people have got on pegged to edge of the playoffs, and I think that's about right.
Yep. A team that everyone thinks he'll finish in third place, and pretty much everyone thinks they're going to finish in third place, was Warrington Wolves. Their gains: Greg Inglis, Rob Butler and Rob Mulhern. Their losses: Ben Murdoch-Masila, Anthony Gelling, Louis Johnson, Dec Patton and Leilani Latu. Last season they finished third in the Super League in the semi-final of the Challenge Cup. Now, all of us other than Tim have got them in third, and Tim's got them finishing second, so we're fairly confident with Warrington. But let's find out what their fans think. David Hunter said to get to the grand final and lose it again is what he expects from Warrington. Lee Whitnell said more of the same. We'll look unbeatable at certain points of the season. I'm hoping that this will be enough to take us to Wembley, but we've got the third best squad, and that will tell come finals time. And Neil Ormston said, I expect a trophy, Widdop to kill it having had his settler, Inglis to kill it, not needing a settler, to be there or thereabouts, but still not win the grand final. 2022, that'll be our year. Good stuff. Neil, now, I would say that Warrington arguably have improved their best 17 players, but I think squad depth wise they haven't taken a step forward, so it will be interesting to see how they go. One thing with Warrington to talk about, and I've got them third, one thing for Warrington to talk about obviously is Steve Price has already announced that he'll be leaving at the end of the season. Sarah, do you think that might be destabilising or galvanising? Because that's what everyone wants to know.
I don't know.
Fair.
It's really hard to tell, isn't it? Because like some teams, it's right, we're going to go and do it for the coach. And I'm sure Warrington fans will be hoping that is the case, but actually, is it, or do you just fizzle and burn? It's difficult to call. I mean, I've been chatting to a couple of Warrington fans recently who really aren't optimistic this season. I would have thought that they'd have probably put Warrington lower than we have.
That's this thing, though, isn't it? They're trying to say it's not their year. They're trying to mess with they're buying 2 lottery tickets from 4 different shops. That's what these guys are doing. Tim, you are pretty confident. You've got them second. So how do you feel about Warrington this year?
Yeah, I think they've got every they could well succeed. They could. I think second is probably, I feel, about fair. I mean, it was much of a muchness between them and Wigan. It's going to be very close. I'm not sure they're going to do well necessarily come the playoffs. I think I see a Wigan Saints grand final, but I think they've if Greg Inglis plays at even 60% of his peak, or even of when where he was when he retired, he's still going to be an incredible player if they can keep him on the park. they'll do well. And I think, the Robs, Butler and Mulhern are two very good signings. Yeah. So, they're in that Warrington mould of just picking those shrewd younger players. I think that, they could do very well. So, and I think they've managed to sort of keep their losses. If you look at who they've lost, actually, apart from Murdoch Masilla, really, not anyone that's particularly worrying.
No, Alan, what do you think we're going to get out of Greg Inglis? What percentage of games will he play, and what percentage of Greg Inglis are we going to see?
Well, his last kind of few games in the NRL, you saw about 20% of Greg Inglis.
And that was 2 years ago.
With the best will in the world, you might get 10%. Now that would be a very good 10%, but it will only be 10%. Don't expect don't expect too many iguanas in the Warrington area next year, or this year I should say. But I mean, I was just looking at their fixtures actually for the first kind of few weeks, because my kind of theory was if they get off to a bad start, I think Price might be on his bike. But actually, in the first few rounds, they actually play some of the lesser teams perhaps. So with a good start, I think Price will see out the year, and you never know, they may, this reverse psychology might work out for them.
That's what they're banking on. I'm banking on Wigan doing better than what we've all predicted them to do, which is second place. The gains for the Wigan squad are world-class John Bateman and kind of an unknown quantity, I feel, Jay Field. Losses: Sean O'Loughlin, Ben Flower, Joe Burgess, Joe Greenwood, Jack Wells, Jake Shorrocks, Chris Hankinson and George Burgess. Wigan, of course, were first in the Super League table last year, but they were the runner-up in the grand final. They reached the semi-final of the Challenge Cup. Plenty of Wigan fans to go through here. So, David, me and you will rotate these. So do you want to do the first one?
I will. Andy Curry says, the young lads have another year's experience under their belt, and the team now has a great mix of speed and size. If we can avoid injuries in the centres and wings, then Lammy's new-look Wigan could well sweep the board this year.
Barney at Battenall Blue said, early season hiccups including crashing out of the Challenge Cup, then we saw our shit for a strong season finish to the season, League Leader Shield and Grand Final victory.
Daniel McNamara says, keep up the same level of consistency as last year, finishing top. Hopefully score more points, and we can enjoy watching Bevan French and Jackson Hastings, along with the new additions of Bateman and Jai Field. Excited.
David Lawrenson said, exciting rugby with predictable results.
John Cassidy says, grand final appearance, early round exit in the Challenge Cup.
Matt H says, same as last year, some highs, some lows, but will fall at the final hurdle. Oh.
Matt Speakman 20 says, very similar to 2020, attacking rugby all through the summer months and a shift towards gritty defending come September. I expect another Wigan Saints final.
Phil says, faster pace, free-flowing rugby, strong defence and some silverware would be lovely.
Steve Boone, challenge for the titles unsuccessfully.
And finally, White Pie says, continuing development of the squad and triumphant return of John Bateman will see Wigan to the title. Alan, you've got Wigan finishing first.
Yeah, again, as I said, it was a bit of a toss-up. I do trust Wigan to be more consistent on a week-on-week basis. So that's my reason for having them kind of finishing top of the pile. Their peaks and troughs might not be, as kind of high and low as Saints or Warrington's are. So for me, they're more consistent through the year.
Tim, you've got us finishing third though, so I mean that's still good, isn't it, in most clubs' eyes, but a bit lower than where the average position is for them.
Yeah, I mean, well, how long is that ban from the grand final going to last? For the Ginger Pearl, he's got a ban for it, doesn't he?
No.
Oh, for the high tackle, should have been a yellow card. Should have been a ban.
I thought it was Hastings one that you thought should have been a yellow card. I don't know. It was everyone. What a load of nonsense.
Yeah, no, I think it was like I said when I was talking about Origin, it was much for muchness. I think